Welcome to Hardly Initiated, where real men talk real shit. And it's crazy because that intro just felt a little bit appropriate. Just a little inappropriate, for the guests we got on the platform. Shout out to the guests making me not want to curse on my platform. But we here with another episode. My brother Ryan Catchings.
That's respect though, man. That's reverence right there.
That's
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Respect and reverence, y'all, because man, the brother we got here on the platform today, I could start in a lot of different places with the background that he has, but let me just start with this brother here is a leader. He's leading congregations, he's leading entrepreneurs, he's leading a family. And today he's gonna be leading y'all and hear us today on Hardly Initiated. We sitting here chopping it up with Dr. Dharius. Welcome to Hardly Initiated.
What's up, man? Hey, I'm glad to be here. Love what y'all are doing, man. And I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah.
Us too, man. Listen, we learned a lot of game from you already. Already we got to get new outfits.
Yeah.
Stop playing.
He came in straight stunning. So guys, y'all see the social proof? It's there.
Yeah.
Okay. And see what I love most, guys, he came on a platform and he said, man, first of all, I'm glad that we can have a platform where me and Ryan can speak freely, but we still can have a brother who is a pastor and lead a church still feel comfortable to be in the space.
That's the thing.
That's actually something that we was working hard to achieve. We wanted to have a dynamic platform. We can have range, still be authentic, still be raw and edgy, but still be able to really give people what they need, like feed that soul.
Yeah. And
my brothers, he came up on here and said, man, listen, y'all are a male-centered podcast, but you're not toxic.
Without the toxicity.
Why is that so hard to find in 2023?
A non-alcoholic beverage.
Hey, it's hard out here. It's hard out here, but y'all doing a great job, man. I mean that. I mean that, helping a lot of people, and you needed and necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think y'all know how necessary y'all are, but
you just as necessary, and we've never had the conversation around leadership. I'm so excited to have that conversation because that's the topic me and Ryan we love that topic.
Yeah.
I mean, we read the John Maxwell's, we read the Dr. Miles Monroe's, we read, some of the greatest teachers on leaders, and you got to stay up on it too.
Yeah.
And now we got you here. By the way, my dog has a PhD. I didn't even know they had a damn PhD in leadership. Tell me about that so the people can understand.
It's a D-Min, and so my emphasis was on what we call missional leadership. And so it's basically it's almost like a fancy way of saying relevant, if that makes sense. It means that like you look at culture the way a missionary look at a different country. So if I was like, yo, take the podcast to do an episode in Japan, there's some stuff you're gonna study about the culture, and you're still gonna be you, but it's gonna affect the way the nuances in the culture and all that is gonna affect the way that you do the podcast. And so the idea behind missional leadership is this. It's like sometimes we live in iPad, iPhone society.
Facts.
With 8-track leadership models. You know what I mean? It doesn't work. Culture's different and people are different. So it's this idea of being adaptive and relevant and adjusting to the culture and giving people the leadership they need in the way they need it.
What would you say is some of the biggest differences in how you lead now versus how you would have led, let's say, 20 years ago?
Well, 20 years ago, I don't probably anybody was trying to lead me 20 years ago. I don't know how good I was doing at that 20 years ago.
You was married though 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, but I was like freshly married. So like literally, I graduated from college in May. And then I got married in July. My wife was my college sweetheart. So,
okay. So she ain't know no better.
She didn't know no better. She really didn't. She really didn't. But no, it was all good. But I would say, I think one of the greatest differences I think with me, as it relates to that now, is probably going to be, I am way more objective than I think I would have been 10, 15 years ago. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I've done this long enough to know now that people are always going to be people. And there are never excuses to justify people wilding or doing something crazy, but there are always reasons And so it's important to dig a little, to not get too high on the highs, not get too low on the lows. When it comes to people, not jump to assumptions and conclusions because of successes or mistakes, but to remain objective. And if there's failure, somebody's underperforming, not doing what they're supposed to do, look past the excuse, try to find the reason. Because if you deal with when you find the reason, you're gonna find the root of the problem. Yeah, so that's one of the things I think I'd say.
So you said that, you were at the, I guess, beginning of your leadership or being intentional about learning leadership at 20 years ago, or were you even intentional at the time you got married? Was it even something that was a concept in your mind, leadership?
It wasn't. No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Now, would you recommend that? Like, for a man, do you think a man should have at least studied up on leadership as somebody who has made it this far in his work in leadership?
100%. I think it's a life skill.
So you need it in every
I
field.
think you need it in every single area of your life, and especially anybody who's thinking about like building a family or something one day.
Men and women, or is this, you talking to the men right
I'm
now?
talking men specifically. I think it applies to both, right? I don't think leadership is relegated to one gender. Obviously, I don't believe that. But I'm saying specifically for a man, because I am one, and so I feel more comfortable talking directly. You know what I mean?
Right.
To a man, I would say like anybody that's thinking about at any point raising kids or building a family, one of your most critical and key skills is leadership. That I'd say that's a life skill for that particular person, because now when you raise kids or you build a family, other people are impacted. They're blessed or burdened by the decisions that you make.
So when you're in this relationship and you want to, pretty much exude whatever, this high level of leadership, how do you get the family, particularly your spouse, to buy into it?
Yeah. So to me, this is why I just feel like the leadership skill is important, because like some of the same stuff that I would do in my company or in my church, it applies to my house. Because if it's truth, it's portable, right? So if it's truth, it's transferable. So for me, this is what I say. I say leadership is influencing people, influencing individuals or organizations toward their purposes. So as a leader, you may be in authority, but if you always got to use authority, you're not leading well. You want to influence. See, authority gets you compliance. Influence gets you buy-in, which is what you really want. Authority make people follow. Influence make them want to follow. In the company, you can make them follow because you're paying them.
Right.
Can't make them follow you at home, bro. Right? So leading in the home is, to me, like it's the highest level of leadership. Because in order for it to work, you got to be the greatest version of yourself as a leader, because you're dealing with people who know the real you. And so to be able to lead people well in the home is the highest expression of leadership, because a wife know everything. She know the dirty laundry. She know you leave your socks on the floor.
All
She
your
knows,
weaknesses.
yeah. She knows all of that, man. So, the key is, how can you raise your level of influence where the people in the home trust your character enough? That means they feel safe with you. They don't feel exploited, abused, etc. And they trust your competence enough, meaning you got a track record of good decision making. Like, so some people want trust and they don't have the track record. Like, love is freely given, bro. Trust is earned. So you got to have a track record of good decision making. And when that takes place, the character and the competence with the decision making, I think it just increases the influence in the home. And so the woman now trusts you enough to feel safe enough to allow you to lead.
Now, see, that's a good point. So how does a woman actually recognize that she's working or dealing with a man who's a great leader?
I'm going to go back to the two things I just said earlier, because these are like the two most important parts of leadership. Your character. Now, when I say character, I think people think like good, bad, moral, immoral. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that's not important. Of course, ethics is important. I'm talking about character, bro. I'm talking about traits. I'm talking about traits that you need to acquire or increase in order to be the kind of person that people want to follow. Like, you would be a good person, and I want to follow you. Like we was talking about that earlier when we was talking about people that you were talking about people being financially free and financially put together and how that impacts your willingness to follow them. They could be like, you'd be like, yo, this is the nicest person in the world. He broke though. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, yo, I might want to talk to you, but I don't want you to.
No advice.
I'm not gonna take no counsel.
I ain't taking no advice. So I feel like when I talk about character, it's like, yo, is it these traits? So whenever you say, like, if you like, yo, I admire buddy, you're talking about traits. You don't even know him. You're talking about traits you see in him that are admirable. And so it could be decisiveness, it could be resourcefulness, it could be focus, it could be discipline, it could be resilience. And so it's gonna be traits. Now it's gonna be certain. Now I can't speak for all women because I know I start going here and people are like, no, that's not me. So I'm not speaking for all women.
It's always gonna be exceptions.
Yeah. Right. But generally speaking, this is one of the things that I found to be important. And in the religious space and the non-religious space, all my business is people. That's all I've ever done is people. I'm in the people business. So I'm not saying my opinion is right, but I'm saying it is informed. Because so here is what seems to be one of the greatest or traits that seem to matter, at least with the women that I serve with the most. Consistency.
That's a big one. That's a big one because I got a lot of texts that say you inconsistent. And I'm like, yo, I'm busy. What's going on? But that's a good one.
So give me an example of exactly what that looks like.
What, consistency?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
especially in the eyes of a woman, for her to recognize that you're a good leader.
Yeah. So consistency, one, in communication. So I'm not even saying consistent is frequent, but consistent is consistent.
Gotcha.
So determine that. All right. Because what does that say to her? That says to her, buddy not gonna leave me in the dark. Like, because if you don't fill in the blank, the devil will. So it's like, so consistency in communication. I think that's gonna be like super important.
So that's when you communicate and how you communicate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It is. So exactly. It's like when you communicate, are you communicating like on a regular basis?
Gotcha.
But is there consistency in the way you communicate? So am I getting a dude that's like wilding out on me on Monday and then, talking slick or whatever on Tuesday and then, you sweet on Thursday.
Right, okay.
So
gotcha.
that lack of consistency creates insecurity. It doesn't mean she insecure as a person. It's just like, it means she don't feel secure with you.
Yep.
And so, yeah, consistency in communication. Here's another one, bro. Consistency in responsibility.
What you
Like,
mean by
is this person responsible? Now, so I'm not talking about like money and stuff like that. I think that's part of it. And we can talk about that later if y'all want. But like, do I feel like this person she's probably thinking, do I feel like he's responsible enough with his own life that I can trust him with mine? Like, it don't matter how it's like, oh, he fine, but y'all can't see each other, the lights off. You can't see it. So I feel like those, that's an example to me of like communication, responsibility, and consistency in meeting whatever those needs are. Those love needs, right? Because love's got languages.
Right.
Right? So love's got languages, and she's wondering, is the person I'm with accurately interpreting what my love language is? And are they willing to consistently meet that language? So if my love language is affection, do I have to worry if I'm gonna be with Buddy long term, whether or not I'm gonna be on a roller coaster getting that? Because here's a fear. If you tell me this the only grocery store I can shop at, then don't tell me you ain't gonna put what I need on the shelf.
Ooh.
Damn.
That's a high bar right there.
And I like to shop at multiple grocery stores.
I get that.
You know what? I'm gonna add to this too, because we had Judge Lintola on here, and she made a statement that speaks to what you're saying. And I think what she would categorize it as, with me trying to use what I have best to make it all, to categorize it, would be probably consistency in demeanor. because what she stated was that the reason she knew her husband was a strong man is because that he was always poised. And I think that's also important in leadership as well. Like somebody, regardless, through the good times, through the chaos, is going to be consistent in how they approach these situations.
Yeah.
And how she just knew like he was unmoved at all times. And I think that's another thing that really shows strength, like shows that a brother's grounded. Like, and that also, and that's another thing that they watching, like you said, they watching to see how you move around these different scenarios and situations. And if you show, if it, and it don't really matter what it is, it could really be it could be something worth, you know, like being moved about. But if she sees you being moved in this way, it's like, oh, okay. It's like, okay, that was the first strike, but okay. You know,
but here's what's weird. I've seen that on the flip side too, though. And the flip side is where I've seen like, yo, he too laxed. He
Not concerned
too,
enough.
yeah, it's too much apathy. It's like he don't have no dog. He don't have no lion in him.
Yeah.
And so I think I get what she's talking about in terms of poise, but I would say, yo, I don't think we should confuse poise with passive. I think one of the things that gives my wife security is like she know where I am, ethically, emotionally, and all of that. But she know if it called for whatever, she seen that side. She know I'm down for whatever.
Okay, so
does that make sense?
It does.
So
make sense.
I think if I was just all passive, we might be in certain places she might not feel safe.
So
You see what I'm saying?
Can't go to Waffle House at night.
Duh, right? I mean, like, yeah, she need to know. Okay, like I don't want him wilding, but if we have to go there, I know he willing to
ready.
go there. Yeah, I think it's some security in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Judge Lynn, because speaking of Judge, I love Judge Lynn, by the way, right? Now she was on here and we had a viral clip, and she basically said you never hit a man where he's weak. So I think what she was communicating at that time is, you know, sometimes women have these emotional waves, and sometimes maybe the way that they communicate, you know, is not the healthiest, right? Their tongue sometimes can like slice you up.
Yeah.
So when you're in a situation where your woman is wanting to communicate to you, but it's very emotional, right? How do you handle that?
I don't know if y'all want to go here with me, bro. 'Cause one, I don't want to come on here and be controversial, but my take on this is going to be controversial.
Okay.
It is. Because I'm going to say this go both ways, right? Here's I feel like this is becoming a normal expectation in relationships, right? That part of loving you means I have to make myself subject to the ramifications of your dysfunction. Like, I know I need to develop strategies to take it. I also want to know what strategies are you developing to fix it. So I don't know if I got an answer for that because I don't feel like you should have to take that long term.
So you saying just cut her?
I'm not saying just cut her. I'm saying you got to make all right. So I'm not saying cut her or cut him. But I am saying, I think I'm in a people business. I'm in a people growth business. And I think it's an inaccurate assumption that a lot of us make that people get better with time. People get better when they try to get better. Mm-hmm. Time doesn't necessarily make them better. And so when it comes to, like, I feel like anybody being in relationships, for a relationship to work, it doesn't require perfection. It does require emotional maturity. And that means you got emotional intelligence. It means you got self-awareness. That's one. And it means you got self-management. So does everybody make mistakes and mismanage their emotion every now and then? Absolutely. But if we chronically and consistently mismanaging our emotions, I'm telling you that when you keep subjecting yourself to that, that's emotional damage that you enduring, and you're not setting a boundary that require that person to fix that, because the next person may not be as gracious as you are. So I don't know if I have a strategy for that, because I don't feel like male or female, you should subject yourself to that. long term. Everybody has weaknesses, right? But all our weaknesses don't impact our relationships the same way. When you don't know how to talk to me, that affect our relationship. Like if I can't cook, that don't necessarily affect our relationship. But if I don't know how to talk to you, that's a relational skill, fam. That's relational intelligence. And that stuff has to be fixed because there's no such thing as a broken relationship. It's always broken people. Relationship never break itself. We break it.
So yeah, if she talking to you crazy,
Oh, fam. No.
he done gave you the green light now.
So, and you talked about boundaries. So, what would be the difference between a boundary and like compromising with somebody? Like, I guess when should you do either?
Yeah, so here's the difference between a boundary and cutting them off, right? So a boundary comes from your recognition that I can't control what you do. I can control how I respond. So it's you saying, all right, I can ask you not to talk to me that way, but I can't stop you from talking to me that way. So this is what I'm gonna do when you start talking to me that way. I'm leaving. That's the boundary. I'm not controlling you. So I'm not telling you as a grown person that you can't talk to me the way that you want to talk to me. But I'm telling you, because I'm a grown person, that I won't sit and be talked to like I'm not grown. So a boundary would be like, yo, I'm not saying I'm gonna cut off the relationship, but I'm saying when things start trending in this direction, I'm gonna set the boundary, not because I'm protecting me from the relationship. I'm setting this boundary to protect the relationship. Because if I don't set this boundary, we might not have one. So for me, that's the difference. That's the difference between the two. And I think I'm real passionate about this, bro, because most of the trauma I like coach or counsel people through is relational.
Because everybody got one.
It's like
Everybody can relate.
90% of it is relational.
Childhood relational or in their marriage?
I'm talking about young adult relationships. So like in terms of, childhood trauma and abuse and things like that, I don't deal with that because I let professionals deal with that, counsel. But when it comes to like my coaching and things of that particular nature, whether it's personal or relational, then I'm telling you 90% of the stuff we are walking people through is a result of like triggers that they possess because of past trauma in relationship. And everything that is trauma don't feel traumatic. And so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's why I say earlier, like, yo, long term, I don't feel like you should subject yourself to just somebody just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, because it's having an impact on you in the present, but it might not show up until the future in your future relationships. And so I really feel like we got to get this part right because it's some stuff that we normalizing that we shouldn't. We normalizing stuff that's dysfunctional. People fight. Yeah, people fight. We don't have to fight all the time. I've been married 21 years. We don't fight all the time. So yes, are you going to have some disagreements? Sure. But those disagreements don't have to turn into dysfunction. And let's say if it's normal, just because it's normal don't mean it's right.
That's a fact.
So I don't know. I feel like I had a little something. I got a little spicy there.
I can tell.
I like that though.
Because relationships now, I mean, it seems to be as a whole in an unhealthy place.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of divorces, you got a lot, and it's a gender war online too. When we talk about that, enough.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it does come from one. I think we do have some things in our mindset that we do need to fix, but also we don't have a lot of the skill sets you need to manage conflict as conflict does arise. And I'm actually, that actually reminds me of something, because I was actually having a great conversation with a young lady I'm dating. And she was asking me some really thought-provoking questions, some good things. She asked me a question I don't think anybody has ever asked me. She asked me, what's your favorite thing? What's the number one thing you like about yourself?
Yeah.
And I thought about that. I was like,
Different.
That's a good question.
I was like, damn. That's what I did. I sat back and I was like, damn. And when I came to it, I actually gave an answer that I think is relevant, especially to you. I said, you know what? I really like the fact that I truly trust myself as a leader. Like I really trust myself. I could put myself in a situation to lead and to put some shit together, handle some shit, and I won't feel insecure about it. Now, here's the thing. I can't say I've always felt that way though. And I'm a big proponent of living on my edge too. So I don't know what type of shit I'm gonna lead myself into. So I can't even say I always will feel that way. So as a man in a relationship with a woman, knowing that a woman is watching his demeanor and wants to really feel his strength at all times, when a man is not really feeling strong in certain situations, what's the threshold at which he should display his uncertainty with himself in a situation with his woman?
I can't say there's a certain threshold. I'm not avoiding the question, but I'm just telling you what I really believe. And that is, it depends on the woman.
It depends on if you got a good woman.
No. It's not good, bad. That it depends on how safe he feels being vulnerable with that woman. Let me go back to this. Is all anecdotal, right? Because again, people say I'm not that way. You know, this is just me. It's not the opinion. It's my opinion, but it is informed by my experience. Most of the men that I know that are married, their best friend knows them better than their spouse.
Damn.
Their best friend knows them.
There are
Now, is that
aspects-
right or wrong? Is that right or wrong?
Depends.
Oh my God.
Because there are aspects of some of his vulnerabilities, fears, struggles, weaknesses that he will articulate and communicate to his best friend that he wouldn't tell his woman.
Is that true for you?
It's not true for me. And I'm gonna tell you why. I don't know let's say if I was starting all over and I got married now, that might be true for me. But I've been with my wife since I was 19. We weren't married. I was 19.
Oh, hold on, wait, back up. You said if you got married today, your best friend might know more than your wife.
Probably so. I would say, yeah, of course they would know me better than my wife. Because let's say like I got some friends I've been friends with since college.
Well, remove time, right?
Okay.
More so
The
what
depth.
you're willing to share. Is that what you mean by that?
No. So, yeah, let me reframe that. So time-wise, so if I met somebody today, yeah, then there would be a couple of my male best friends that would know more
Okay.
about me, and
That's
I'll
fair.
feel more comfortable sharing certain things with them than somebody that I just met or even might be newly married to, right?
Right.
It's different in my situation because I've been with my wife for just about as long as I've known those guys. So the foundation of our relationship is almost like a friendship. So because we done lived through so much together, after 20-some years, fam, it's hard to hide anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever you are after 20-some years, she's gonna see what that is. But I've seen enough to know that everybody's circumstance is not that way. And so I'm not getting into whether or not it's right or wrong. I think it depends. The question is whether or not the guy feels safe or unsafe in expressing like, yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do here. Like, I can't say if every man's gonna feel comfortable saying that to a woman just because he love a woman and just because she love him. It's gonna depend probably on how he feel like she's responded in the past when he was vulnerable.
Right.
You're supposed to be the man. You don't know what you're doing. So if he's gotten any of that in the past,
He's not gonna say nothing.
he's not gonna say
Be
anything.
reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. Like, are there things a man should keep away from his woman? Like, is there a space that's just not, that you just should not bring to her to disturb her peace or to get her riled up for or whatever reason it might be?
Yeah, so this is what I think. So my answer is, I think there are some things a woman should keep to herself and a man should keep to himself. Now, I'm not saying that's the way everybody has to do it, right? Hey, well, if you want to share everything, like, go for it. I think what I'm saying is, and again, I'm not talking about hiding stuff that's damaging, destructive, dysfunctional, but I think what I'm saying is, for me, it's like marriage is not addition. So from my worldview, it's not addition, it's multiplication. It's not two halves coming together in addition, becoming a whole. It's two wholes that are already whole, individually, and they come together, and it's not 1 + 1 is 2, it's 1 times 1 is 1. So it's composite unity, not absolute unity. So we won, yet at the same time, I still maintain a sense of individuality and uniqueness. I got my own opinions, I got my own perspectives, I got my own desires, and I got some thoughts I'm not gonna talk to you about.
And I got my own side chicks.
I get that.
I'm not co-signing out.
So I got a question. You talked about, just the love between a man and woman or a husband and wife.
Yeah.
So is there such thing as unconditional love? Could a woman that, not your mom, right? A woman that you're married to, doesn't love come with conditions? Or like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think different people see it different ways. One of my mentors believes that God is the only one that can offer love without conditions.
That's fair.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
he said, and then next underneath that is a parent can offer love. Now that doesn't mean that love don't mean we close, right? I think conditions, you can establish conditions to whether or not, as a parent, like I wouldn't establish conditions to whether or not I love my kid. I think I can love my kid without conditions. Conditions may affect like how close we are. If that makes sense. But so my mentor says when it comes to like romantic relationships or whatever, he thinks love has conditions. Because when some people break up or divorce, something happened, like a condition.
Some change.
Right.
Some change.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like some conditions change. And some people say, but no, they still love the person, but they don't love the person enough to be with the person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same level of love, the same type of love, the same range of love. So I think unconditional love it's a goal and it's a worthy goal. I just don't know how many humans reach it.
Yeah, I just didn't think that was possible. So I'm in agreement with your mentor. Because
Yeah.
there's always just something else involved, And I think in a relationship, if the conditions change too much for an extended amount of time, I think that, it's just ample opportunity for that person to now, disengage from that situation.
Facts.
So let me ask you, Doc, I got a good question for you.
Yeah, I bet.
So let me tell you. So by the way, it's like I've looked at your content and prolific in the areas of not just leadership, but also purpose. And that's one of my favorite conversations too. And I've read many books on that subject. It's just it's just fascinating to me about purpose, about being put here for a reason, like for this reason, and us making sure we're doing that, right? And we went on a podcast, and Ryan went massively viral on this podcast.
Okay.
And on the podcast, you actually made a statement that I want to hear was a blanket statement that was made, and I want your thought on it.
So I was surprised at how offended the women were at this statement. But what I stated was that they asked me what did I think of. I think they asked me what I think a man's purpose was.
A man's purpose.
Right. So I said a man's purpose is work. So they were kind of like, okay. They're like, so what is a woman's purpose? And this is when the conversation went to the left. So I stated, and I'm very curious what you think about this. I stated that a woman's purpose was family. And those women, they almost stood out their seats.
Yeah.
And
it went crazy. It went wild. Like a woman's purpose is what?
The baby factory, living, being slave to the house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All kind. And I was shocked.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, how is that insulting? So I'm just very curious what you think. What is a woman's purpose?
So I disagree with you.
Okay.
Yes, I mean,
making me look bad.
Oh, to be clear, I disagree with that. So I think I get to a degree what you were trying to articulate, and that is maybe generally speaking, because there are some exceptions, there is more of an you would think that there would be more of an orientation toward that with the female gender, right? And I'm just telling you with what I have seen. That is just a false. That has not been my reality.
Wow.
That I would not say, based off of what I've seen and the people that I serve and lead, that the female gender is more oriented toward that. Now, I think based on your philosophy or theology, then a person could argue maybe whatever their opinion is on that. But what I've seen, it is way more personality type oriented than gender. Yeah. There are some that's like, no, she's the hunter, she's the lioness, she's going to get it. And it's not that he's not working, you know what I mean? But it's like he may be a male, and it's just like he's just kind of more nurturing. He's more. So like I grew up in an amazing, amazing home. My parents are absolutely phenomenal. Just I have no complaints. My dad, man's man, like accidentally shot himself in the hand, or something, like not shot, but like something on the gun came back, his hand bleeding. I'm like, your hand fell off. Nothing, ain't nothing but Peter put a little rag on it. He's like that. But he was still, I would say, by far the most nurturing one in my home. By far the most nurturing one in my home. So, yeah, I can't, I think everybody's individual purpose is different. And I think that the genders were equally created, yet gloriously different. But the differences are going to depend on who the actual woman is and who the actual man is. That's just been my observation. That's been my experience with the people that
so what do you define purpose as? What is purpose to you?
Purpose is the reason for the creation or the existence of a thing. So purpose isn't I exist. Purpose isn't doing good stuff. Purpose isn't quote unquote being used, right? So let's say like we talking on these mics. I can take these mics, we can use these mics as a door stopper. You can put them right between the door. It could stop the door from closing. It's being used. That's not purpose though. That's not what the creator had in mind when they created the mic. And so if we keep putting this mic as a door stopper, it's going to damage the mic. Because whatever purpose is not understood, abuse is inevitable. So I think answering that question is the most important question you can answer in life. I think if you get that you can't get life right if you're getting that question wrong. It's the most important question you can answer. And I think a lot of people are settling for being door stoppers because they're being used as opposed to really figuring out from the creator, what have I been born and called and created to do?
But what does that look like? Because I feel like I don't believe that purpose is just you sitting around and praying and waiting for the answer to come. Like, I think there's a level of action it takes to actually go out there and find that purpose. But I want to hear your perspective on it. Like, what does it look like for somebody to really find their purpose?
Yeah, so I think it's a few things, right? So I do think I agree with you in part that, yeah, I don't think you're not going to discover anything just being passive and sitting and praying. I do think that there's some clarity that comes through experimentation, that you do have to do some things to figure out what you're actually good at. You have to do some things to figure out what actually brings you what I call the fruit of purpose, which is fulfillment. That's the highest form of compensation. Actually, when I was at the Revolt Summit, I talked about this, how most people think like money is the highest form of value, and it's not. And for most people, money is not even in their top 5. So if I was like, you get $1 million today, but you have to die tomorrow, do you want the $1 million? The answer is no. So you value time more than you value money. So money moved down. I give you $1 million a day, but you got to be sick for the rest of your life. You still want the $1 million? Nope. So money moved down. Health is more than money. You get $1 million today, but your mama got to die tomorrow. You still want the $1 million? No. So I could go on down the list, right? The highest form of compensation is not finance, it's fulfillment. You only get that with purpose. And I think you only are able to discover that, like you said, when you do some experimenting, when you actually do certain things, because there's certain things that you think are going to bring you fulfillment. They might bring you finances, right? You guys were telling me about how you pivoted from some of the stuff you were doing in the real estate market. It was bringing you finances. But now I probably imagine there's a greater degree of fulfillment.
Absolutely.
That you're getting from this. And you get money too.
And then finance is a result of that fulfillment. Right.
You get money too. But you know what I mean? Like there's a point that you get to with money. To spend the money, you got to spend it on dumb stuff. So at some point, there's a point you get to with money where it's just like, it's limited in the gratification that it can give you. And that's where you need purpose, because that's what gives you fulfillment. And that make you internally rich. And that's the greatest level of richness.
So why are most people out of tune with their purpose? Why are most people in this doorstopper phase?
I don't think, that's a great question. One, I really don't think that most people understand how important it is. Now, again, this is my worldview. My faith informs this. I think most people, not most, but I think a lot of people think they pick their purpose. And I don't think you pick it. You discover it. God picks it, you discover it. And so
that takes work. If you got to go out there and look for it, you got to put some action behind it.
Yeah. So I just think, I really think that's the reason. And I think I actually wrote my last book on that, because I'm like, man, it's people close to the end of their life and they still haven't figured out what they're supposed to do with it. Like, I started seeing stuff like that, and I wish it was more conversation around the subject, and I wish more people had practical pathways to kind of discover. Like, I feel like you should walk through 4 pathways. Like, so one is, you got to ask yourself this question: what's my unique design? That's your character, that's your competence, that's your personality. It's like you've been uniquely designed. You got gifts, talents, and acquired skill. You just got some stuff you born with. You've been designed uniquely. Then you got unique dreams. It's stuff you want that I do not want. We can walk in a room, you be like, yo, I want it. I want to do this. I want to do that. I be like, yo, there's nothing in me that want to do that at all. Like, there might have been some people, you were like, yo, we're about to start this platform, this podcast, and people are like, I have no interest in that at all. That's a unique dream, which lets you know that might be a part of your purpose. Then you got what I call unique discontent. And that is, I feel like purpose is an answer to a problem. So you're going to be uniquely agitated by the problems you were created to solve. We both can walk into a room. We both can see something. It irk you to death, not bother me at all. So some problems in the world, some problems in culture, it bothers you. I feel like y'all saw, we need something that is male-oriented, empowering for men, but not toxic. You saw there's something in that you saw that agitated y'all to the degree. It's like, we got to do this.
So I agree with that. So Dr. Daniels, let me ask you this, because we really did see a problem, right? Because the reason we even came up with the title of the show, Hardly Initiated, because we saw that it was something missing. Like, where's this initiation process for you officially become a man, right? So we was looking at, I
didn't know that.
Yeah. And
that.
At that time, we were investing a lot into like James Allen, Miles Monroe, like you talked about, John Maxwell, Stephon Arnio, just a lot of these authors. What's my guy? Way of the Superior Man.
Oh, David Dita.
David Dita. Just really investing deeply into learning more about like the masculine energy, the man and those types of things. So once we was in this place, it was like we figured we just kept having conversation about it. And now that we've had men come through the show, like a lot of strong, powerful men, even when they detail a lot of the issues that young men are having, it's because they're not getting that information in the adolescent phase. So if you are a young man and you are lost, right, and you're trying to figure out what it means to be a man and how to become a man, what's the best place to start?
It should be at home. It should be at home.
That's ideal.
That's ideal, right?
Right.
Okay. But for most people, it's ideal, but it's not going to be their reality.
Right.
Right? So, one, there may not be a male in the home. 2, it may not be a male in the home that is able to make that kind of deposit. Right? Because so the kid can withdraw it from the dad if the dad never had it deposited in him. You can't give what you don't have. So ideally, it should be home. Then secondarily, for me, I'm going to say it should be church. We actually recognized this. There was a mentoring thing that I did a while ago called Lionhearted, and it was centered around this because I got this development program for men called Made Men, because I realized, I said, males are born, men are made. And so it kind of originated. I used to be in Jersey, so this is really bad. Don't judge me for this. But I used to be in Jersey, right? So we just took the whole like mob.
Mafia.
Yeah, we kind of took that thing. And so you got ranks, you got members, you got soldiers, you got capos, you got dons, and there's like learning, that they got to go through how to lead a home, how to manage money, broke number, how to manage your body responsibly, all those kinds of things. And we realized that, we having to fix grown men instead of raising young men. And so it should be the church, right? But that's ideal, but not always realistic. And then I think, so after the church, I feel like now the community has to figure out, maybe virtually, maybe digitally, maybe through platforms like this, I don't know. But the community now has to get creative and try to figure out what are ways that we can actually do that with young men.
I think the society's causing more confusion than helping at this point, to be very honest with you.
Because those men, like you talked about the toxic channels, the toxic information that's put out there, those are just men who had the similar issues that me and Ty or other young men our ages may have had, but they just, when they went searching, they just so happened to pick up a different book. Right?
Facts, yeah.
instead of picking up the way of the superior man, right? They might have picked up how to pimp women.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, this is what they know. This is the best information that they have to rely on. So I do think that if you can't get it in the household and because I'm not even sure how comfortable people are. I don't even know if that would have popped on people's top 5 lists. How to be a better man. Go to church. Get in the word.
Yeah.
So if you can't get them from those two places,
and I would understand why.
Why is that?
I would understand why.
Why do you think that men may not be as comfortable, digging deeper into their spirituality?
Bro. y'all really trying to get me
we need it. We need it.
No, I think so. I can't speak for other religions, so I can only speak for Christianity specifically.
Okay.
So there's this concept that really exists. It's called the feminization of Jesus. And it's really whitewashing, but the feminization of him is like a consequence of that, right? So this is what we know. He's a Middle Eastern Palestinian Jew. There is no Middle Eastern Palestinian Jew with blonde hair down to his back and, white, rosy cheeks. And, this is what we know historically. He's a carpenter. He was a carpenter
he's a man's man.
Until 30. So he's picking up wood. He's swinging a hammer. He's got calluses on his hands, bro. Dirt underneath his fingernails. When have you ever seen a portrayal of him like that? You have not.
It's always freshly manicured. Little makeup on, like you said, the cheeks.
100%.
Long, flowing.
So there is a presentation of the founder of the faith that is just, let's not even get into theology, just historically inaccurate. And as a result of that inaccuracy, he is now unrelatable and not as appealing to a masculine man.
Wow. He's soft.
Yeah. Wow. And so you see the reflection of a lot of that now in the way that church is done. And I think churches need to be considerate of all types of, all the different people and things of that nature that are there. But there is the point that I'm making is it has become, unfortunately, we try to do a better job of this, but it has become, unfortunately, really difficult for people to relate to that version and that presentation of him. And I think this is about to be interesting. I can't believe I'm about to say this. I think churches need to do a better job of acknowledging and admitting the failure when it came to developing men. So if you ask, what program exists in one? I ain't talking about a men's breakfast, bro.
Right.
We come together eating pancakes. I'm talking about a 3-on-3 tournament. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm saying, but if you really ask yourself, what programming exists in religious spaces to actually develop men for life? When I started trying to put ours together, I couldn't find one. I had to create it. There was no place I even knew that I could go to, specifically dealing with urban men, black men, There was no place I knew that I could go to get any kind of curriculum, anything like that. So I wrote it myself.
I spent some time in church, and I've never heard of anything like that either. And I spent some time. You usually get those from like the coaches, like if you played on the football team or something like that.
100%.
But
yeah. So I don't think anybody's going to flock to a place that they feel like is irrelevant.
And I mean, what they associate the actual, how they have psychologically categorized the deity. I mean, I think that was some heavy stuff that you just dropped. Really,
Yeah.
I've never heard that concept before of like feminizing the visualization of Jesus Christ. But I see how the psychology that could really affect how people, have a relationship with him or even want to, acquire like you said, the traits of this person
Or the kind of man you become.
exactly.
Because you begin to think being a
What would
spiritual
Jesus do?
man is like that. You know what I mean?
Imagery is
not.
So,
It's
we need to
powerful.
We need to
It's
create.
powerful,
We need
yeah.
to create a Jesus that looked more like David Banner.
Well, when you think about Christianity,
Just listen. Just create one that actually looked similar to the real one. You know
I
what
agree
mean?
with you.
Yeah.
Because when you think about Christianity, you think about, that's the first thing you think about is Jesus.
Yeah.
And then that imagery is in your head. So it's no different. I mean, it's been pounded in us for years and
Yeah.
years and years. So it's no different than if you were to look at social media, thousands of minutes a day.
Facts.
It's
Yeah.
like it has that influence on you. That makes a lot of sense because as a man, when I'm looking at man, like I would want to be like the man that's the biggest, strongest, toughest looking.
The one you described as the man's man.
Yeah, the man's
That's
man.
typically who most men have reverence for.
Right.
If we all just stepped in a room,
Mm-hmm.
didn't know a damn thing about each other, and it just was like, we just men amongst men, that's just what happens.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. It was 12 men that left jobs and businesses and all of that and submitted to his mentorship for 3 years.
Wow.
He was a man's man, and he's that example of what I was talking about, like authentically and unashamedly masculine, yet non-toxic. So he tough enough to carry a cross, tender enough to cry when his friend Lazarus dies. That's that balance there, right? Because I don't see a lot of that in society. It's the other. It's like the extremes.
It is.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Holiday, he talked about, is it Ryan? What's my guy who wrote the Ego's Enemy? Is that Ryan
That's
Holiday?
Ryan Holiday.
Yeah, he talked about how back, in history, the philosophers were warriors and the warriors were philosophers.
Wow.
So these was just like the strong, the
Right.
man's man, yeah.
Yeah. Nah. It's something, man.
So wait, what, when I go up in your church, what photo I'm gonna see?
None.
Okay.
I think that's
In
best.
any
though.
location, we intentionally.
Wow.
That's intentional. There's no picture, and you can go to anywhere, New Jersey, here in Atlanta, you won't see a photo. Because the depictions of him that we've seen, we just know are historically inaccurate, and there was an agenda behind the portrayal of him that way.
So
That's deep.
that first of all, we talk about we don't give that story a lot. I like that you broke that down. The name of the show, Hardly Initiated, was because we see these brothers out here are hardly initiated into manhood.
Yeah.
And you actually have created an initiation process.
Which I
Facts.
like.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like.
Oh, it's-
Is that here in Atlanta?
Yeah, well, it's actually, we do it virtually, and then the quote unquote initiation day is at a specific location. So the last time we did it in New Jersey, so I had
That's lit.
That's
Like
like,
maybe
probate for the frats.
like maybe like 500 men started, and then I think we may have finished with like 182 or something.
Oh,
like
so
that.
everybody
Damn.
doesn't make it.
No, you don't. Everybody don't make it.
I like that.
No,
I
everybody
like
doesn't make
that.
it. No, it's 12 sessions. You only get one mulligan. You can only miss one. If you miss more than one, if you make 10, you don't make it.
Niggas getting knocked off over there, son.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't
Don
make
knocking
it.
them off over
Initiation
there.
process
Because
work, yeah.
every lesson is different information that we feel like is key and critical. And it's not just about the information, it's about the process. It's about consistency. It's about showing up for something. And this is the easiest thing you ever gonna have to show up for. You can't show up for this, you're not showing up for your wife. If you can't show up for this, you're not showing up for your kids. If you can't show up for this, you're not showing up for your business. If you can't handle this, your shoulder's not big enough to handle your dreams. You talking about you want a dope business, an amazing family, wife, you want money. Your shoulder's not even big enough to handle that if you can't go through these 12 weeks. So it's 12 weeks. They got to do like, you know, what we call accountability exams to make sure that they processing the information correctly. And then, yeah, they suited and booted on initiation Sunday, black suits, white tie, black shirt, white pocket square, and they get pinned. We got what's called a made man pin. And we pin them, and then there's this vow they make to God, which is my wife will be loved by me, my kids will be led by me, my church will be served by me, my community will be better because of me. Yeah.
And do they got to shave their heads?
No.
Be on stage?
That might be coming. I like that though.
Yeah.
That's needed.
Yo, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I want to figure out how we can get involved with that. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it was
That's
something, man.
beautiful.
It was something I just saw it and I was like, man, we need to do this because I was so fortunate that I had a dad that just kind of, he gave me that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so when I started even discipling and mentoring some of the people on our team, like I remember one time I asked one of the guys, I was like, yo, you got a broke number? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, you need to have a broke number. And I never forget, I cash apped him $1,500 and I was like, you broke. If you only have this $1,500 in your account, you have no money. This is the way I want you never to be broke again by establishing a broke number. That way, if an emergency or something happens, you don't have to go to savings because you got cushion in your broke number. Now, let's say you spend $500 of that $1,000. You broke until they get back to $1,500. So those are just things that are just lessons that are just served me well. I just had people in my life that was able to teach me stuff like that. Yeah. And I realized that wasn't everybody's experience. And those were the things that like people needed to learn to actually make their life better. I'm not saying all the other stuff is not important. I'm just saying there were other things that people needed. And that's what we're trying to do.
That's, man.
It's gonna be the statistics gonna change with that one because I think a lot of the issue is on the men. You know, for us to step up and to really get this guidance and this level of attention that we need.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think that's
because I mean it's really
big,
up to us to lead the families. It's really crazy when you think about it, man. Leadership, when a man, especially in this world, is expected to lead his home, you know, to be a leader within his community, to be a leader in so many different facets of his life. Yet that's not something that's formally taught to us. And unfortunately, it's not something that is we can't guarantee that it's going to be in a household. So we got really people out here that's just unequipped for life. They just unequipped, they unskilled, and they still every day taking on more responsibility. Yeah. They taking on women, they taking on children, they taking on businesses, they taking on all these different things. And we see the result of it when we look around at our community, at the statistics, at our marriages.
Yeah.
And it's a result of, you know, this just lack of preparation for what's to come in life. And I appreciate brothers like you actually hitting the ground, putting in work, putting programs together, and also joining us here at Hardly Initiated, chopping up game for the people, man. Because this was phenomenal, man. This is the weight that we look for in these episodes, man.
Needed that one, man. It just feels good.
Yeah.
It's just good. I mean, to be honest with you, I just love talking to strong men.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I got enough of that coming up. And I feel like I still don't, we have a platform for it, and I still don't feel like it's enough of it. So, you know, for all those men out there who are looking for somebody to, you know, help them out or kind of get that motivation to get the knowledge they need,
you know what I really like? I like brothers who are like spiritually sound. But you know, they still got that dog in them though. You know, like they're not they're not like just somebody like they spiritually sound and they might beat your ass. Like they just not like these weak men. It's like I just feel like that's like the ultimate goal to achieve. Truly being able to protect, truly being able to stand for something, but still being able to have that deep spiritual core and be grounded.
Yeah.
And much respect, man. Much love. Let the community, the followers, the listeners know what you got for them and how they can get in touch with you.
Well, listen, it's a little bit of everything for everybody. I say, yo, there are different sides of me, and you can choose which side of me that you feel like can add value to you. But all my social media platforms are my name, Dharius Daniels. Website, DhariusDaniels.com. So all of our programs, initiatives, content can be found, man, in those two places. And listen, man, this was dope. I'm glad. Thank y'all for having me. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank y'all again for tuning into another episode of Hardly Initiated. We are out.